What do you think about the rationale, ma'am, that they're saying the reason is this is no longer a protest or a demonstration, but it's an occupation? Is that a fair characterization of what's going on here?
Not at all. No, I don't believe so. We're here for people's freedoms, and that's what we need to make this about.
Not at all. I think they should come here for 10 minutes and experience what's actually happening and maybe get in touch with the people and see what the people are saying. And maybe they'll have a different opinion.
Sure. David Menzies for Rebel News here on Parliament Hill. Well, folks, back in 1976, the Steve Miller Band scored a hit single with their song, Take the Money and Run. Now, who could have thought that in 2022, Take the Money and Run would be the unofficial anthem for GoFundMe? Because earlier today, the unthinkable happened. GoFundMe announced that they are not going to disperse the more than $10 million raised for the Freedom Convoy. It is absolutely shocking, and I can tell you, people here are not happy with it. Folks, it is just such an egregious turn of events. Evidently, the rationale for GoFundMe doing this is that this is no longer a protest. This is an occupation. These people are no longer peaceful protesters, but they are thugs wearing trouble on their shirts. In any event, we're going to go into the crowd and see what people have to say about GoFundMe nationalizing this money, becoming yet another corporation that subscribes to cancel culture. So, sir, what do you feel about GoFundMe's decision today?
First of all, when it first happened, I was so happy and proud of GoFundMe. I was going to start a GoFundMe for GoFundMe. And then they betrayed us. We will not forget. We're still a free market. Our money will go elsewhere. Several people that donated have already got their money back, given it to us, and we got it out of an ATM. We're going to give it to the truckers in cash.
No, I think it's probably the same thing as Mr. Neil Young coming out against Joe Rogan. I think they just canceled themselves. You know, I think making that decision, calling that criminal. You look around and see what's happening here. This is not criminal. This is democracy. This is liberty.
I'm not happy about it. Yeah, it's disappointing.
I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I don't know how you could look at it any other way.
Yeah, well, obviously that's like a terrible call on their part, right? But in my opinion, we're going to find another fundraising source, and we're going to raise probably just as much again.
Well, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, that's the money they raise. It's legitimate. They got lawyers, they got accountants. They're putting it together, and I don't know who's taking it away, but it sounds pretty liberal, actually.
Well, I don't know a whole lot about GoFundMe, but I did hear that they collected money for lots of other organizations and groups that potentially were far worse than what's happening here, completely far worse. The worst thing happening here is people are getting together and they want to have their voices heard. Because just down the street, I think there's a war memorial, a big statue that represents people who laid their lives down for freedom. And I know it's a small inconvenience for a period of time where people are trying to say, hey, that's enough. So for GoFundMe to hold those funds, I think is completely diabolical. It's all part of the tyranny we're trying to fight, right?
I think there's maybe some influence there from another party.
Well, that's interesting. Do you think maybe somebody in high office got to them, coerced them to make this decision?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't understand why the businesses in this town wouldn't be allowed to remain open and make some money and support their fellow Canadians.
What do you think about the rationale, ma'am, that they're saying the reason is this is no longer a protest or a demonstration, but it's an occupation? Is that a fair characterization of what's going on here?
Not at all. No, I don't believe so. We're here for people's freedoms, and that's what we need to make this about.
Not at all. I think they should come here for 10 minutes and experience what's actually happening and maybe get in touch with the people and see what the people are saying. And maybe they'll have a different opinion.
The reality is that I support everybody here, and this is so peaceful, it's so loving that I was crying. I'm not a crier. This is ridiculous. We need to release the Band-Aids. We need to just move on with our lives, and we need freedom. And there's one person that's stopping it.
To add insult to injury, if you will, GoFundMe says that unless you get in touch with them as a donor by February the 19th to request a refund, they will keep your money and donate it to a charity of their liking.
Well, maybe what we should do is, if they're going to hold the money, we should take the money and give it to the charities who can give it back here. Can we start a new charity? Can we do that?
We're getting people to weigh in on that terrible decision by GoFundMe to withhold that $10 million from the truckers. Funny, I don't see anyone else from the mainstream media covering that story. Therefore, if you can help us pay our expenses, please go to convoyreports.com. That's convoyreports.com, so that we can continue to bring you the other side of the story.